I'm Amythest, and welcome to Ask an Autistic.
I want a renaissance to shine a light, be the change we want, set things right. We've been waiting in the dark for so long.
In today's episode, I'm going to be addressing a question from Tumblr, and that question is, what are the best and worst things to say to autistic people, and what should I definitely avoid if I'm trying to make them comfortable? This is a good question, and so I'm just going to jump right in to a list of things that you should not say to autistic people. Now, every autistic person is different, but these are just general things that I have found that members of the autistic community tend to not enjoy hearing from people. I never would have guessed you are autistic. This one is usually intended as a compliment, and at first glance there's nothing really wrong with it. But the fact is that if an autistic person can pass as neurotypical at all, or if they've perfected the art of passing to the point where most people don't know that they're disabled, it is usually from a place of necessity and survival, and is not necessarily a positive thing. Many autistic people choose to try to pass as neurotypical because they've been bullied or judged for who they really are. So even if it's meant as a compliment, I never would have guessed you're autistic, or even you don't seem autistic, aren't great things to hear, especially when we are autistic, and that is a big part of us. You must be very high functioning. If it's meant as a compliment, the chances are that the person who said it just doesn't know that high functioning and low functioning labels are inaccurate and can even be harmful towards autistic people, and that the concept of high functioning and low functioning in the autistic spectrum is a false dichotomy. And if you are ever tempted to say you must be very high functioning, or well, you're not low functioning, to try to dismiss an autistic person's argument or life experiences, please do not do that. Just don't do that. Isn't that just like socially retarded? Now, firstly, the word retarded, which I hate saying but I will say here for educational purposes, is not a word that should ever be used. Never. Not talking about disabled people, not talking about non-disabled people, not talking about an object or something that's frustrating you or a situation. The R word is a slur. It is an ableist slur, and it has been used to oppress and dehumanize disabled people for a long, long time. That being said, autism is not just being socially retarded. It's not just being socially inept. Autism is a complex neurological disorder that has many facets. And yeah, social and communication differences and difficulties is one of those facets, but only one. Did you know that you're rocking? This could also be flapping your hands or fidgeting. But here's the thing about stimming. Autistic people stim because we need to. And most of us, if not all of us, have been judged and bullied for it in the past. So chances are we know that we're stimming. We may even be hyper aware of it. But if we are stimming, it's because we need to get by in that situation, to deal with sensory overload or anxiety or stress. So if an autistic person is stimming in your presence, please don't bring it up, because that can really put us on the spot and make us feel embarrassed. And then also, we won't feel safe to stim in front of you in the future if we need to. The twin to that last one is telling us to stop rocking or flapping or fidgeting. If an autistic person is stimming, it's because we need to stim. And it's our natural method of expression and movement. And if it makes you uncomfortable, well, sorry. It's our well-being versus your embarrassment. So if you have an issue with an autistic person stimming in your presence because you think it's embarrassing or it looks weird, that is your problem that you need to deal with, and you should not be forcing the non-disabled ideal of normalized communication and expression onto autistic people in your life. I think we're all a little autistic. If you understand what autism is as a disability and a neurotype, then you know that no, not everyone on the planet is a little bit autistic. Every person on the autism spectrum is autistic, but most people are not autistic. People who say this one probably don't mean to be insulting, but it is, because it dismisses the reality of how hard it is to get by as an autistic person in a non-autistic society. Are you sure? Autism is really overdiagnosed nowadays. If somebody comes up to you as autistic, please do not attempt to tell them that autism is really overdiagnosed nowadays, or that they might just be shy or quirky or socially inept. An autistic person knows their brain and knows their life and experiences much better than you do. And so if a person comes out to you and tells you that they are autistic, they are trusting you, and you should not attempt to downplay that or make light of it or to suggest that they probably aren't autistic. If somebody comes out to you as autistic, or if you learn that somebody is autistic, you should probably not ask them what treatments or therapies that they've tried to not be autistic. Please do not ask us what kind of therapies we've done, like ABA. Please don't ask us if we've tried gluten-free diets. Please don't ask us if we've done chelation or hyperbaric oxygen chambers. Just don't do it. I think you mean that you have Aspergers. If somebody comes out to you as autistic, or you learn that they identify as autistic, you should not correct them with the term Aspergers. Looking past the fact that Asperger's isn't even a diagnosis anymore in North America thanks to the introduction of the DSM-5, people with Asperger's are autistic. And if they want to identify as autistic and introduce themselves as such, it is not your place as a non-autistic person to correct them. In the same vein, if somebody introduces themselves or somebody comes out to you as autistic, please do not correct them and say, "Don't you mean you're a person with autism?" You have to put the person first. The reason for this one is twofold. Firstly, most autistic people actually prefer to use identity first, not person first language. This is the same as the blind and the deaf community, who largely prefer to use identity first language. So instead of a person with autism, most autistic adults and self-advocates that I've spoken to prefer autistic person. Secondly, even if that wasn't the case, every autistic person has the right to choose how they introduce themselves, how they identify. They are the autistic ones. It is their disability. And so if they want to be autistic, a person with autism, an Aspie, an Aspergerian, a Spectrumite, they get to decide what they're called. And so you should not correct them. You should just roll with it, even if you don't necessarily agree. But you're not disabled, right? This question often comes from a place of confusion, but it really shouldn't be asked of autistic people, because autism is a disability. And whether or not that person in front of you looks disabled, if they are autistic, they have a disability. And there are lots and lots and lots of disabilities that are invisible. And there are lots of people with cognitive or developmental or learning disabilities that can pass as non-disabled or as neurotypical. So even if you don't mean it this way, insisting that an autistic person isn't really disabled or that they don't seem disabled to you erases how hard it is to be autistic and to be disabled. And as a bonus, here is one that I've actually heard a surprising amount, and it is, "I thought only kids were autistic." This, again, not coming from a place of maliciousness, just they're not educated. But yes, if you were ever wondering, autism is a developmental, lifelong disability. It is a neurological condition that's present since birth and until death. So yes, an autistic person is an autistic child, but all autistic children grow up into autistic adults. And hey, I can't fault the average person out there for thinking that there are no autistic adults, because organizations like Autism Speaks would have you believe that there are no autistic adults, and that the potential futures of autistic children are bleak and hopeless and awful. So you don't hear very much about autistic adults in the media, especially not media coming from organizations like Autism Speaks. But we exist, and we're out here. Now, that was a list of things that you should not say to an autistic person. And now you're wondering, okay, where's the list of things that I should say? If I did that list, it would be really long because it's everything that you would say to a non-autistic person. I find that a good rule to go by is to treat autistic people like we're people. And I know I'm being a little bit sassy right now, but people get kind of hung up on the fact that a person is different. So while an autistic person might be shy when they first meet you, or if you introduce yourself, they might not respond in the normal or socially acceptable way, just go for it. Just treat us like we're people, and try not to ask autism-specific questions when you're first meeting an autistic person. Something I can pretty much guarantee will go over well, but only do this if you're actually willing to listen, is asking an autistic person about their special interests. You don't have to say it like, "So, what's your special interest?" But you can ask us what we're interested in right now, or what we're reading. Or if you already know an autistic person and you want to know how to talk to us and how to connect with us, chances are we would love to talk at you about our special interest. And if you know an autistic person and you know what their special interest is, ask us about it. Because autistic people, we are very passionate about our special interests. And if you want to get to know us better, and if you want to show that you are willing to listen and know us, asking about our special interests and then listening actively is a good way to do it. And if you really, really, really need to know something about autism from an autistic person, first you should make sure that you've Googled, because there are lots of cool resources out there written by autistic people for non-autistic people about autism. Secondly, you should make sure that you phrase the question in a way that isn't accusatory and that doesn't demean us or minimize how tough it is to get by as an autistic person in a non-autistic society. While there are things that you should be considerate about and sensitive of when you're talking to an autistic person, I find that, again, the best general rule is to treat us like a person. So this is my list of things that you probably should not say to autistic people if you do not want to make us angry or uncomfortable. I'm sure there are lots of things that I missed, and if you are autistic, feel free to post your suggestions of things that you would not like to hear in the comment section, and also things that you would like to hear. If you like this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more. And if you have an autism related question, feel free to post it in the comment section or message it to me. Thank you for watching Ask an Autistic.
I want a renaissance to shine a light, be the change we want, set things right.